Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Mars in the fifth house in your birth chart, in your Vedic astrological chart, when this is your Arudha Lagna. If you're not familiar with your Vedic astrological chart, or if you want to find out what your Arudha Lagna is, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. And for the month of December 2019, I'm giving 50% off of all astrology readings. So, Mars in the fifth house in your birth chart, in your Vedic astrological chart, that's different from Western. Don't try and calculate it from your Western chart because it's going to be different. And what do you do when this is your Arudha Lagna? So, the Arudha Lagna means rising sign. It means the point at which you were brought physically into reality. Literally means screwed into place. It comes from the same root as lug nut. The lug in lug nut and lagna, same thing. So it means when your soul got screwed into this particular body, and the moment that you hit air, the rising sign that was coming over the east, that put a stamp on you, and that became your eyeglasses through which you see. So whatever sign is your rising sign, your lagna, that's how you view your world. So that's why it's connected to your personality, because it's how you view your world. You view your world from whatever your rising sign is: Aries, Sagittarius, Aquarius, Leo, whatever. So the Arudha Lagna is the mount of the self, the mount of the rising sign, the mount of the personality, like a car or a horse. It literally is the vehicle through which you are taken to the greatest success of your personality. And this is really important because it's not necessarily how you feel about yourself. It is how the world sees you, whether you like it or not. So when Mars is in the fifth house, this is how people see you. So what is Mars? Mars is your energy. It is your drive. It is your, it is your willpower. It is everything associated with the warrior. It is your actions. It's your ability to take actions. It's your bravery. It's your blood. It's your strength. Your vitality has a strong connection to sex drive. So these are, very Mars associated things you associate with warriors, people of action. Mars is also a builder and a scientist and a surgeon, things that have to cut and take action towards things, solving problems. This is Mars. So Mars in the fifth house. The fifth house is the natural placement for the sign of the sun, Leo. So what is the sun? The sun is an egotist. The sun is a performer. So the fifth house is the house of performance, but it's also the house of creativity and of children. So from the fifth house, we can see somebody's performance creativity. We can see their productivity to be able to create. Having children is the same as creating. So you'll see the creativeness of the person here. So when Mars comes into the fifth house, Mars becomes a performer. Mars becomes very active in expressing artistic. The fifth house is also the house of higher education, and it's also the house of esoteric spiritual learning, the house of mantra. So when Mars comes here, Mars is a little impatient. That's the other thing about Mars. Mars is all about action. So higher education takes time and effort and discipline. So Mars tends to be a little bit impatient here. So you might find somebody who is educated, who is smart, but they don't have the patience to go and get a PhD necessarily. Now, this isn't entirely the case all the time. We're just giving the basics of it here. Fifth house is also the house of romance because it's the house of children, the house of sex. So dating. It's not the house of marriage. Marriage is when you take the romance and you codify it and you turn it into a lifestyle. No, fifth house is all about the fun of the romance, the dating, the falling in love, the honeymoon period. And of course, that's when the kids get made. So Mars can make somebody very romantically active, can make them very passionate towards romance, towards sex and dating, which of course creates kids. If they do have kids, they might be a little harsh with their kids, a little bit quick-tempered. But you get the idea. So passion, intensity, action in the fifth house. So if this is your Aruta, it means that when you walk in the room, people see you as a performer, as somebody of action, and they may see you as a Casanova of sorts. So you may be very engaging and attractive in that way. This is somebody who, when it comes to romance, generally speaking, can go straight into the romance, straight into the sexual connection very quickly. So you might see somebody here who maybe, at least at one point in their life likes to, play the field, have more than one partner. You have Saturn in there. Saturn is commitment. So Saturn comes into the fifth, then you would see somebody who takes their time and takes a long time before they commit. Mars isn't necessarily interested in commitment. Mars is just, let's do this. Let's see where this goes. Let's worry about it later. So when you walk in the room, you could be seen as a dynamic performer. This could be a place for a writer, because the fifth house is the house of works of art. The third house is writing as well, but that's, my Mars is in my third house, which is also my Aruda. But that means that I'm just constantly talking and uploading videos. I have to keep doing it over and over again. Lots of little communications all the time. Fifth house is big things like war and peace, apocalypse now, the one thing that defines your career. So Mars can be a writer here, but it's kind of, at odds with itself here because it wants to do a lot of stuff quickly, but here it's forced to go, okay, I'm going to put a lot of effort into this one big thing. This could be a placement for politicians. This could be a good placement for politicians because Mars likes to take action, and politicians are people of action. And so this could mean an intense political drive towards something. Mars here aspects the 11th and the 12th house. So the 12th house is the house of leaving this world. And so if somebody is like, let's say they're a writer, they could be a science fiction writer because science fiction is out of this world, but it also has that warrior aspect. You've got the military of people in spaceships and, the captain of the spaceship and the first officer and all that landing parties. So you could have warrior, but it's a warrior on another planet. And since it's the fifth house is writing, we might have somebody who's a science fiction writer. Just to give you an example, I'm just trying to give you an example of how to think about these kinds of things. Now, what sign it's in is going to make a big difference. Mars, reacts to the sign that it's in. The conjunctions, if there's other planets in there, for instance, you got Moon in there. Moon in Mars is going to make somebody really emotionally driven towards romance, and so they're going to be really sexual and really emotional. It's going to be an intense thing, but you put Saturn in there and it's going to change things, Rahu, Ketu. And the aspects, what planets are aspecting it, what sign is it in? These are very important things, which is why you need to get a reading, astrology.thunderwizard.com. This is one of the main things that I focus on in my reading. In fact, if somebody were to say to me, Mike, I only have 5 minutes, please tell me the one thing I need to know in order to get the most success out of my career and my life, I would, without hesitation, go straight to the Aruda. The Aruda is how you are seen by the world, whether you like it or not. And in my experience, Arudas will have some kind of karmic issue regarding how you are seen. So in this case, if somebody has Mars in the fifth house, they are dynamic, energetic, romantic, sexual, all that kind of stuff, intensity. But there may be a feeling where, because it's your Aruda, you may have some tendency to hide that. You may feel guilty about that. You may feel embarrassed by that. That's past life ego karma that is actually holding you back. In my experience, the Arudha is like your superpower, but in order to unlock it, you must first act in ways that may be uncomfortable for you. Now, this isn't true for all Arudas, especially if the Arudha is the 1st or the 7th or the 10th. Then people tend to be more comfortable because that's who they are. But when it's in different placements like this, in my experience, they may not realize that this is their gift. They may not even feel like it. So when I say to you things like, the warrior or the politician or the Casanova, you might go, I don't like that. That doesn't sound like me. Well, if this is your Arudha and these things I'm saying don't hit well with you, that means that you need to express yourself in that way, whether you like it or not. Because whether you like it or not, people are going to see that about you. And your Arudha is either your curse or your superpower. It's your superpower if you accept it and you just let people see it. The great thing about it, when I show up in my Arudha, I don't have to feel like it at all. People automatically see it that way. I was doing, years ago, almost 20 years ago, I was doing a film and I was acting as a kickboxer. Now, I am a martial artist, but I don't like to flout it. I don't go around, picking fights with people or doing anything like that. I don't like to spar. I don't do any of that stuff because I don't like bullies. So I try not to express myself that way. But Mars in the 3rd house is a bully. That's just the fact of the matter. So when I was on this set and I was with people who fought in the ring, like real martial artists who fought in the ring. I don't do that. And we're just sitting there getting ready to shoot the film, and they're like, "Holy crap, I'm scared to death of you." It's like, what? We're not even going to hit each other. It's all choreographed. But that's because my Arudha comes out as this, hard-hitting fighter, and people just by looking at me can get that feeling. Even if I'm thinking to myself, "Holy crap, I gotta pretend to fight with this professional boxer. This is scary." Even if I'm scared to death, they don't see that. So if this is your Arudha and you have a problem with the idea of seeing yourself as this dynamic, Casanova person, or as this political person, or as this performer, this dynamic, intense performer, if that's a problem for you, then the thing to do is actually punch it up. Go out there and be that, even if you don't feel like it, because it's just a mask. It's just a reflection. It's not who you really are. And this is important to know. You will be rewarded for your gift, even if you don't relate to it. It's very important. You got to be it. So I teach you when you get a reading from me how to have this Arudha and what to do with it and how to make the most of it, because your Arudha is going to be your ticket. It's going to be your money ticket. If you hide it, here's the downside. If you hide, especially if you got Mars, if you try and hide that Mars, you're going to come out looking like a dark, really destructive person. That's what I mean. When I try and hide the warrior in me, I end up looking like a serial killer. And you've seen me on here. If you've watched my videos, you see, when I'm not in a good spot and I try and hide it, you can see that darkness comes out and flashes and bursts, and it's not pretty. That means I'm just not being, I'm not allowing myself to just be who I am in my Arudha. So bottom line is, you need to know what your Arudha is, and you need to dress like it, and you need to act like it in order to achieve your highest success. If you want my help, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Also, if you want to see all of my books and video teachings and DVDs, go to courses.thunderwizard.com to see all the things that I offer, all of my services and teachings and everything. neo.thunderwizard.com. This is, in my experience, the 4 most important tools to help you learn how to get the universe to respond to you. You need to understand the rules, otherwise you're just being tossed around and you're a victim of circumstance. Of course, subscribe and hit the bell button. If I haven't gotten to your Arudha yet, I will very soon. So that's it for me. I look forward to talking to you again very soon.